And now, story time with Ultimate 23 Dragon.
I am so using that in future videos.
So a few months ago, I did a storytime video on the 2008 Built Ford Tough 225. This was a Kentucky truck race that was the best career finish from Michael Annett in the Truck Series, and one of the best performances overall for Bill Davis Racing, making that storytime video end up being a double tribute to both of them, who had both passed away in 2025. But in that video, I also acknowledged the fact that there were 5 people connected to Johnny Benson's racing career who had passed away in 2025. And after thinking about it, I decided it wouldn't be fair if I didn't do storytime videos for the other 3. So this has become an unintended trilogy, with this story being part 2 of 3. Now the problem is part 2 is going to be from Mike Eddy, a 7-time ASA champion. What race do I tell the story of? I had 3 races in mind. The first one was the 1992 Oldsmobile 400 at Jennerstown Speedway, which was the season finale for ASA that year. 1992 was the year that Mike Eddy and Johnny Benson had their championship duel. However, I have absolutely no idea how ASA points work, so I have absolutely no clue how this plus this equal this. So, yeah, if there are any ASA historians out there, help! So, yeah, I can't properly tell the story of that race if I can't even explain the points format. Not even the internet was of any help. The second race I had thought of was the 1993 Auto Value Parts Stores 250 at the Nashville Fairgrounds. But that ended up being one side on Johnny's part, despite almost being caught in a wreck, and despite the finish being pretty close in the end. And that would not have worked in this specific instance. I then came up on a third race, and it was perfect. Johnny had only raced in the original ASA series only 8 more times after 1993. And it's one of those races that statistically is the perfect race for me to tell the story of. But would the racing tell the story in a way that the statistics alone could not? Let's find out. So, for the Mike Eddy portion of the Tribute Trilogy, here is my story of the 1995 Port City Racing 200. So Mike Eddy came in as the points leader for this event, and he will start 3rd in this race. However, the pole sitter for this race is someone who's just visiting for this event, who is racing full-time elsewhere for 1995. You've probably heard of him.
But they are not on the front row. A hometown hero here, Johnny Benson Jr., is on the front row, sits on the pole tonight. Johnny, there's been a lot of talk about the changes in the surface here at the racetrack, the new surface. You've raced here a long time. How has it really changed?
Well, I'll tell you, the last couple of years it's been really slippery, but they put a new surface on here. It's great. It's 2 grooves. It's kind of like the old track back when I used to run here, so we're really looking forward to a great race.
What's it like running in front of your hometown fans here?
Oh, it's unbelievable. You know, I haven't seen these people in about a year since I've been here. The guys have done a great job preparing Burgess Chevrolet, Port City Racing Chevrolet, and it's just awesome to be back in front of the home crowd and, you know, see everybody back here home again.
Yep, it was exactly who you thought it was. Anyway, Joe Knott was the other front row starter. Joe Knott tries to take the lead from Johnny at the very start, but fails. Joe's car is smoking after his car had actually wrecked during qualifying on the 2nd lap. This caused some concern to the point this happened.
This is concerning Joe Knott's crew a great deal right now. They're trying to analyze what might be wrong. They did a lot of changes after that qualifying. They put a new rear end on, left control arm, new upper and lower A-frames, a new spindle, a quick realignment. They did a lot, and they don't know if they got it fixed.
And Mike Eddy was a bit impatient, I think. Maybe he was getting fluid up on the windshield of his race car, but he wrapped Joe Knott in the tail pretty solidly and sent Joe spinning. I'm sure we'll have a chance to take a look at it. Johnny Benson, who was the leader, had pulled away to about a 7 or 8 car length advantage, but I think Mike Eddy just said, hey, I don't want this smoking car in front of me, and took care of that promptly.
Well, as we were talking about all the parts that had been replaced on Joe Knott's car, here he comes steaming around to the front of the field and heading to the end of pit road. He'll make a hard left turn right here and go on into the pits to see if he can further analyze. Oh, he didn't quite make that hard left turn.
Well, what he wants to do, Brian, is catch the pace car first, because the cars have to pit in a very small infield pit area. He's got to run all the way up to the front in order to not lose a lap. So he'll wait till the next time. Now, he's moved alongside Mike Eddy, gives him a little rap in the door, and the fans come to their feet as a result.
Mike Eddy spins Joe Knott with his car still smoking. Before heading to pit road, Joe pulls up to Mike Eddy's car during a replay and expresses his displeasure. Yeah, did I mention I've actually never watched this race before now, so I had no idea Mike was going to do that? Anyway, the restart was on lap 10, and the Joe Knott smoke situation was identified.
Mike Eddy and Johnny Benson Jr. 1-2 in the field right now. Well, Mike Eddy running second behind the former ASA champion. What great battles these two had over the years, with Johnny Benson winning his championship a couple of seasons ago.
Absolutely. Meanwhile, Joe Knott remains on pit road in car number 48, so apparently whatever problem there was is severe, as he has not yet been able to rejoin this race.
Let's go once again to Sandy Hang down in the pits with the Joe Knott crew.
Well, I understand from the Joe Knott crew that it is a transmission seal. It's going to be a tough one for you, Joe. How you plan on getting this fixed? You're going to have to wait it out.
Yeah, we're going to have to wait it out here and get it fixed. Just got in a little trouble there. Just racing hard down without motorsports right before Thunderbird valve lead car this weekend. Just had a little misfortune qualifying, got in a little crash. Other than that, we're running good. We just had a little leak there in the training seal. We'll be all right back out.
Joe Knott's car actually did not continue in this race. While Johnny was pulling away from Mike Eddy, a good amount of battles were going on as...
Allen obviously knows that he can make the outside groove work, as we've got a caution again and a car against the wall. It's Dr. Yale Conley between turns 3 and 4, and the bad luck just persists for a racing surgeon.
Racing surgeon? I've heard of a racing dentist, but not a racing surgeon. Anyway, Yale Conley crashes in turn 4, although it's unclear as to what exactly happened. Right as that happened, Mike Eddy bumps Johnny Benson, but yet almost spins himself. Maybe I shouldn't have done this race? To be fair, though, Johnny probably noticed Yale Conley's wreck before Mike did, so that might be what happened. Anyway, the restart was on lap 23. Of course, another Benson number. The battle between Johnny Benson and Mike Eddy continues as Bob Seneker joins in on the battle. The broadcast focuses on the three-car battle for the lead for several laps. Eventually, the focus shifts to a battle between Dave Sensiba and Todd Forbes. That lasts about a lap as Mike Eddy finally gets side-by-side with Johnny Benson for the lead, and the focus goes back to them. After a few laps, Rick Miller's car loses an engine, and his off-the-pace car gets in the way of Mike Eddy's car. I have no idea what that was. Anyway, Johnny retains the lead. Glenn Allen Jr. bumps J.D. Summers to get by him for 7th place. The battle between Dave Sensiba and Todd Forbes continues as Tony Raines joins that battle right as Mike Miller pits for a flight right front tire. As all that was happening...
Tony had a strong run last weekend at I-70. Early in the going, appeared to be one of the cars to beat, and we've had a hard hit over in turn number 4, and it's involved car
James
number
Powell.
44,
James
the machine
Powell in the two car.
of Pat Bordeaux, and James Powell, as you mentioned, making his first start in the Jim and Deb Daly car number 2. Now, Powell's going to be able to drive his car away. Bordeaux's car had the hard hit, and the right front is severely damaged. You know, we may not get another chance to talk about James Powell, but he made his first start here tonight, and a real tip of the hat to this young man. Our thoughts and prayers with him. He lost his father, mother, and twin 4-year-old daughters in a plane crash barely a week and a half ago. And he said if it wasn't for the Lord, he'd have not made it through it. And what a strong-hearted, strong-willed young man. We hope he's able to get that car back in competition tonight. I think Pat Bordeaux's night may be done in car number 44. Heavy damage to the right front corner.
James Powell and Pat Bordeaux collide, resulting in Powell spinning out and Bordeaux crashing out. Side note, airplanes suck. The restart was on lap 62. Mike Eddy is on the attack once again as he goes side by side with Johnny Benson for the lead. The two begin to have an amazing duel, but is interrupted by...
They get up into the turns, it seems clear that Johnny Benson Jr., and now we have another incident on the racetrack.
Ted Smokestad and Ray Skillman have gotten together in turn number 3.
Bringing out another caution flag here as we are 67 laps into the 200 scheduled for action tonight at Berlin Raceway in the Port City Racing 200.
Smokestad gets turned around in car number 33, as does Skillman, so no significant damage to either machine.
Eddie Sharp bumps Ray Skillman. Hey, wait a minute, that Ray Skillman? Anyway, Sharp bumps Skillman, and somehow he and Ted Smokestad got together as a result, and that causes another caution. The restart was on lap 74. Another Benson number. A lot of drivers got camera time during this portion of the race. Tom Jones was interviewed after his car fell out of the race due to a power steering pump issue right before the last caution. Eddie Sharp and Todd Forbes nearly collided and spun, but both managed to save it and continue. Literally 2 laps later, the inverse happened. More battles happen on track as Johnny Benson fends off Mike Eddy once again. Dave Sensabaugh gets more TV time. Dennis Latman and Brian Refner have a good battle going for 8th place. Tony Raines soon joins that battle, as does Brad Loney. Brian Refner bumps him, but Brad saves it. After a commercial break, it's shown that Johnny Benson's lead over Mike Eddy has extended greatly. As Johnny starts lapping other cars, Steve Shy falls out of the race after the rear end broke. Todd Forbes takes 6th position from Bob Seneker. They both catch and pass Scott Henson for position shortly after. With concerns about potential rear-end grease from Steve Shive's car, lappers, and the potential for green flag pit stops, this happened.
And now he is pulled to about a half straightaway advantage over second place car number 88, Mike Eddy, and another half straightaway back, and we've got a yellow, and it is Harold Fair spinning coming off turn number 4, and this is exactly what Johnny Benson, Mike Eddy, and Glenn Allen Jr. needed.
Harold Fair provides the opportunity for the leaders to pit under a caution flag if they should so choose. And as the caution flag waves, apparently no particular contact by Harold Fair, and the leaders, in fact, going in, one right behind the other.
Harold Fair tried to make a pass on James Powell and hits him, spinning himself out in order to avoid spinning James Powell, and thus causing another caution. All the leaders pit under that caution. With the way the pit selection is done in ASA, Mike Eddy took advantage of that and passed Johnny Benson during that round of pit stops. Johnny fell back to 4th in line, with Glenn Allen also getting by him on pit road, and Bob Seneker staying out on track to take the lead. However, this also creates the issue of 7 cars on the tail end of the lead lap being in front of all the leaders. The restart was on lap 139. Mike Eddy takes advantage of the lap car of Ray Skillman and immediately passes Bob Seneker for the lead, with Glenn Allen Jr. and Johnny Benson also following Mike Eddy to get 2nd and 3rd respectively from Seneker. Unfortunately for Seneker, it only gets worse from there.
There
so fast.
Believe me. And really caught on the outside in a revolving door. Here's another caution that's going to come out. Now for the guys on the tail end of the lead lap that were in fact in the front of the field, this is going to be an opportunity, am I not correct?
Absolutely.
That they can go around and improve their position.
Unfortunately, it's bad news for Bob Seneker, who's shedding fiberglass body pieces, a flat left rear tire, as he tangled with a couple of cars, Ray Skillman and the number 26 machine at Bill Baird. Seneker was going backwards. He, I think, just showed a little displeasure, maybe perhaps with Ray Skillman, or perhaps Ray just trying to get to the bottom of the racetrack.
Well, Ray made a hard left turn to get in there as Seneker's going around in the field trying to get back to the pace car. And here is Bill Baird, the 26 machine. He's got some serious problems, some agricultural modification minus a tire on the left rear there.
Bob Seneker tries to pass Ray Skillman's lap car, but him doing so makes them go 3 wide, with both Tony Raines and Scott Hansen passing them both. As Hansen goes by, Seneker and Skillman collide, resulting in Skillman spinning right in front of Seneker. And with no time to react, Dennis Latman runs right into the back of Seneker's car. Bill Baird hits the brakes to avoid running into the back of Latman and then spins to avoid further damage. But that was to no avail, as Brett Bell hits him and everyone scatters by this point. The cars that were caught in that wreck had a lot of repair work done to them on pit road under that caution. The restart was on lap 148. Glenn Allen Jr. now challenges Mike Eddy for the lead. He was unable to get by him, and Mike Eddy gets away. A couple laps later, Johnny Benson passes Glenn Allen Jr. for 2nd, and he now tries to chase down Mike Eddy. As that's happening, the battles resume all over the track, some featuring lappers. A lot of attention was focused on the battle between Gary St. Amand, Brian Refner, Todd Forbes, and Tony Roper, with Mike Miller stuck in the middle of it despite being 2 laps down. Glenn Allen Jr. and Tony Raines battle it out for third place. Meanwhile, with the help of lap traffic, Johnny Benson catches Mike Eddy for the lead. Those two have their own intense battle for the lead, as do Glenn Allen Jr. and Tony Raines for third. As Glenn Allen Jr. won that battle...
A lot of good close racing here for position. And we have a car turned around up on the racetrack there, the number 50 car of Eddie Sharp, kind of a stablemate of Johnny Benson Jr., who's racing for the lead. Here's Eddie Sharp, Pat Shower Memorial Rookie of the Year contender in the number 50 car.
And Eddie, again, one of those top-ranked rookie drivers. He was trying to keep from losing a second lap to Mike Eddy. And there might have been just a little contact between the 88 and 50. I'm sure we'll have another chance to look at it.
Eddie Sharp spins once again, though it's unclear as to what caused the spin this time around. The restart was on lap 187. Let's watch.
We're going to have to watch very carefully the number 15 machine out there. There's Mike Eddy. There's Johnny Benson Jr. These two have battled for an ASA championship and many victories among them here. Not only at this racetrack, but at several others. Mike Eddy, of course, shall we say, not the favorite among the crowd, and Johnny Benson Jr. certainly is the favorite with the fans here at Berlin Raceway. Well, they are being set up for a terrific final 13 laps.
You know, Benson, I think, can Brian throw caution to the wind here in these last dozen circuits. He's not running for points in ASA. He's running for the pride of winning again in front of his home crowd and for beating a guy that has for many seasons been an arch rival in his former days. And he's alongside and may have the lead coming off turn 4.
He sure stuffed it under there clean and close, and the crowd came to its feet. He has taken the lead with 11 laps to go at Berlin Raceway, and now the fans can relax perhaps just a little bit. They can collectively unclench their fists.
I don't think so.
Well, maybe not.
Mike Eddy not giving it up easily, goes back to the low side, and early in the race, this is the posture these two drivers occupied. Eddy trying to do it just the way Benson did 2 laps ago. Benson fighting him on the high side. Squeaky
clean racing so far. Of course, a lot of the reason why Mike Eddy is less than popular here is that some of these people feel like he is bumped and nudged and just have been a little too aggressive for their taste. But these two guys are just squeaky clean, running hard and fast at the front of this race with 9 laps to go.
9 circuits remaining. Johnny Benson wants to get it done. Eddy wants to do it once again here at Berlin Raceway and confound the locals. And sitting there waiting for the mistake is Glenn Allen Jr. He's third. He's managed to put some distance between himself and Tony Raines. He can see this now about 10 car lengths in front of him.
What a battle side by side. The two-groove racing has certainly come to life in a very big way here. As we wind the laps down, we're closing in on 6 circuits, and regardless of what happens, we will finish 5 laps under green, even if a caution comes out at this point in the race.
Brian, lap traffic should not play a factor at the end of this race. Jeff Neal is off the pace, but nobody then for about a straightaway in front of Johnny Benson and Mike Eddy.
So the track is clear and clean ahead of these two as Johnny Benson Jr. maintains the lead here over Mike Eddy. Mike Eddy trying to make a last desperate pass here. He shows in the inside a little bit of contact there, but no damage done. Johnny Benson Jr. in the number 21 car, the Berger Chevrolet Benson Speed, and that is one of the Lumina-bodied automobiles. And then it is the GM Goodwrench HRE Pontiac of Mike Eddy.
And one of Johnny Benson's biggest fans who has supported him in his transition to Busch Grand National Racing is Matt Berger, who owns the local Chevrolet dealership in Grand Rapids. He's on his feet along with a near capacity. Well, let's face it, it's a standing room only crowd, and they are all on their feet now with just 4 laps to go. 3 this time by for Benson and Eddy.
Every tool chest and war wagon in the infield is occupied to capacity too, as all the pit crews are on their feet watching racing. They are no longer pit crews, they are race fans along with everybody in the grandstands. We're coming around now with 2 laps to go. It is still Johnny Benson Jr. staving off the attack of Mike Eddy.
And Glenn Allen closing in car number 15. He's not going to have enough time to catch them. He can only hope that they'll bump each other and allow him an opportunity to pass. He's reeling them in. Tony Raines 4th. Brad Loney has come to 5th in car number 33. Bring him home, Brian.
The run to the checkers will take about 16 seconds as Johnny Benson Jr. works around the outside of Jeff Neal's car. Mike Eddy tries to show him the outside. Benson moves up to defend the high line. Here they come into the final corner, and with Mike Eddy trying to poke the nose on the inside, he'll come up short by a car length. And Johnny Benson Jr., much to the delight of the fans here of his nearby hometown of Grand Rapids, Michigan, has earned a victory on the Berlin Raceway, and he has earned it over the man that many people came here to see defeated tonight. The Mike Eddy, the 7-time champion of the American Speed Association, will not get his 12th victory tonight.
Okay, that was awesome. That final duel for the win between Johnny Benson and Mike Eddy was just pure amazing. That was super enjoyable to watch, and I hope you guys enjoyed it too. Now let's hear what they both had to say.
I'm going to call the Sandy Hang Show. Sandy?
Well, I tell you what, Johnny, how did you hold Mike Eddy off through all of this?
Hold him off. I had to pass him. I'll tell you what, Mike, he did an awesome job. Raced me real clean. We had fun. Port City Racing, Berger Chevrolet. Man, I couldn't ask for anything better. Chevrolet helping us out. Crew did a good job. You know, this car's just been sitting up here all winter. We ran Toledo with it. Man, it's great.
Well, the last couple of laps, it looked like he started to get under you a little bit. Were you worried? How were you keeping him at bay?
Well, I don't know. Earlier he was trying to get underneath me, and the outside worked pretty good. If he got underneath me, we'd just race on the outside. I don't know. But like I say, Mike did a great job. You know, he had ran good. We ran good. You know, like I say, we're just happy to be in victory lane here in hometown.
Well, if you can hear the crowd out there, they're very happy for this victory. You know, before, it's deafening out here. We talked to you earlier about how the track has changed with the new surfacing, and you said, you know, some things never change. That's the groove. Where did you find it the best to drive on this new resurfaced track?
Well, I'll tell you what, you know, when I went to ASA, we come back here, the track was, you know, getting different, and this track was just like when I used to run here weekly with Freddie Campbell and Bruce Vanderlaan. Back with them guys, the track was just like that. And, man, the old days just come back into swing there. We're a little tight. We could have been a little quicker at the end, but Mike run us hard. You know, like I say, we're just happy to be in victory lane. And here at the home crowd, you know, I can't ask for a better deal.
Okay, that's Johnny Benson Jr. in victory lane.
Kind of, Brian, an early birthday present. He's just a week away from celebrating his 32nd birthday, and the world right now is Johnny Benson's oyster. As everywhere he goes racing, he seems to be out in front.
Well, it is a pleasure to interview someone like Mike Eddy. It was a thrilling ending, Mike. What were you thinking those last few laps?
Well, I was thinking that if I don't get back in front of him, he's going to win the race.
And there you have it.
Yeah, well, you know, you don't get to race Johnny much anymore. Do you miss racing with Johnny? What's that like?
Well, you know, it's fun to race with good drivers. You know, I ain't saying ASA don't have good drivers, but it's always nice to have the good ones come in and race with us. You know, it's a lot of fun to race with people like Johnny. You know, he always runs good and makes for good competition. And you know, I was behind the wheel of this car, but I got to believe if I was standing out there watching, it had to have been a really good race to watch.
A lot of times we see at this racetrack, drivers go through a lot of tires. I mean, you've done that in the past, put on a new set, just come right to the front. Tonight we didn't see quite as much as that. What do you think that's due to?
Well, this new asphalt is really easy on them Goodyear Eagles, so you know, tire wear was no problem. Probably if you were changing a lot, it's because they were the wrong size and you were trying to correct your car. But if your tires were the right size, they would have run the whole race.
Okay, that's Mike Eddy taking in a second-place finish today.
So if you saw the thumbnail to this video, I labeled it as the final Johnny Benson-Mike Eddy duel, which is technically correct. Those two raced each other only one more time, and in that race, Mike Eddy finished 8th. So that race wasn't eligible for this particular project. But this race, and especially that ending, was perfect for this project. It had the amazing racing from many years ago that the race fans of today desire to see in today's racing, but isn't as common. And I hope you all enjoyed that as much as I did. Now, if you saw my video on the most infamous crash in ASA history, you'll know that I only had really known about the original ASA throughout the late 1990s and early 2000s. And Gary St. Amant is the driver I had most associated with the original ASA series when I was able to watch it. Mike Eddy was part-time by then, so I didn't know him that well during my childhood. Basically, He never competed in NASCAR, and to an extent was the ASA version of Dale Earnhardt Sr., being a 7-time champion who had GM Goodwrench as a primary sponsor. He did have a rough side to his racing style, though not as bad as Earnhardt Sr. did. And yeah, you saw a little bit of that rough side with what happened to Joe Knott at the very start. But when Mike raced clean, you get masterpieces like this battle in the final laps with him and Johnny. What also makes his rivalry with Johnny special is the fact that Johnny was Mike's final opponent for a championship in a year where Mike won it. Even if I never figured out how. But anyway, that completes part 2 of the 2025 Tribute Trilogy. That means there's one race left. What race from Johnny's Space Motorsports era did I decide to tell the story of for Bill Baumgartner and Steve Bird? Well, that is another story for another time.
Can you say subscribe to Ultimate 23 Dragons YouTube channel?
I ain't gonna remember all that.
Just subscribe to Ultimate 23 Dragons YouTube channel.
Ultimate
23 Dragon.
Ultimate 23 Dragon?
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, please subscribe to Ultra Dragon 23 something.